Okay, your comments are welcome. This is the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 51, a live stream. That's right, a live stream. We're absolutely live. It says 50 on the episode show, but I can tell you it's 51. And we may do a couple of 51s. Kevin Hardy, Dick Butkus. We're going to talk Florida Gator football. What happened? What happened to my Gators? Yep, got deep. Kind of the deciding 2 points. Special teams killed Florida. They didn't score enough points. South Florida, this is probably perhaps one of their better teams over the past 10 years. I saw something on Twitter, the X, if you will. Somebody had South Florida ranked like 12th. And I saw that briefly. I don't know who put that up. I was thinking it was Danny Cannell. But so he didn't give much love for Florida, and maybe he was right. What happened to the Gators? What absolutely happened to my Florida Gators? They get beat 18-16 to South Florida. Now, Alabama lost to Florida State, but nobody had to tell them, hey, you got to play better and stronger, and don't take the opponent lightly. Louisiana Monroe, man, Alabama scored as many as they wanted on them. Did Alabama ever have the football to not score? What did they win that game by? It was like 50-something to nothing when I went to sleep, and then I woke up, and I think Alabama had 72 or 73 points. I'll check the scoreboard in a moment, but my gosh. Hey, I think Gaylor might be in here now live with us on the live stream. Tell those boys to come in here. Tell them to come in here. We'll talk Florida Gator football. Comments can easily be typed in on our YouTube channel, the Teal Shirt Report podcast from bigjreport.com. Florida loses 18-16 to South Florida. Is the South Florida game the entire season? No. In a pressure-packed SEC, even though this was not a conference game, even though this was not an SEC conference game, do you got to win the close games? Yes, because coaches' fates are decided. They're absolutely decided by close games, a 3-point loss here, a 6-point loss there, a 1-point loss there, and this was a 2-point loss. South Florida 18, the Florida Gators 16. Now, the Gators only gave up 18 points on defense, and really special teams gave up 2, so that's really 16 points on defense. You can't blame this on the total defense. I know there was a player, and I missed the play, and I'm ashamed for missing the play, but I was doing a lot of things. You know, I run bigjreport.com. We run a website. We run a podcast. We run the entire enchilada. But I got a lot of good people that, help us. Alex Nunnery, our executive producer, JC, also John Gaylor, contributor and correspondent. Bring them in here. We'll talk Florida Gator football. Why did the Gators lose this game? Well, first of all, if it's a close game, and then you fall behind 15-9, Florida scored in the second half, and I believe it was early in the fourth quarter or mid-fourth quarter. They got a 16-15 lead. And it was a field goal by one of the Grammatica kids. Man, there's so many Grammaticas that have been kickers. Then it was a chip shot for him. Florida loses 18-16. So that is some of what's going on. Florida loses 18-16. Alabama beats Louisiana Monroe. Isn't that the school that Napier used to coach at? So please leave your comments. One game is not a season. Florida hasn't even played an SEC game yet, but yeah, it is a terrible loss at home on top of it, where South Florida comes up and they're getting money to basically fiscally support their entire athletic department, I'm assuming. But South Florida, this may be one of their better teams, and they are Division I. They're in a pretty decent football conference with some decent schools. South Florida is considered mid-major. So there's no part of, there's no, this is not a small college. This is a mid-major. This is absolutely a mid-major. I'm trying to find this on the live stream. I'm assuming we're still on. And we appreciate you guys tuning in. Sometimes the screen, where are we at here on the live stream? I'm going to try to find where we're at here on our live stream. I'm assuming we're still on, and we're going to talk Florida Gator football. Hey, my Ed White Commanders in high school football won, scored as many points as they wanted on the Old Forest High School. They're now known as the West Side Wolverines. And West Side's had some pretty good football teams over the years. They really have. West Side's had some good football teams, but this year, West Side here in Jacksonville, they might be the worst high school football team in the city. But my Ed White Commanders are a good football team. We don't know how good. They're not great. They're not as good as Rains beat Trinity Christian Academy. Ed White is not as good as probably St. Augustine. I think Ed White could give Bowles a good game, though. St. Augustine beat Bowles on Friday night. St. Augustine 40, I believe Bowles 35. We got the high school football scores up on the website at bigjreport.com. So this is a live stream. Invite people to come in. Please give your comments. There's people that want to throw pitchforks on Coach Napier now. Could Florida Gator football and Coach Napier be a ticking time bomb or time bomb? JC, do you remember when years ago in a commercial we did the quarters? It's a ticking time bomb. Florida Gator football. You lose to South Florida 18-16. Bama lost to Florida State. But what did Bama do? It was a wake-up call. This better be a wake-up call for Coach Billy Napier. That's right. Quarter night at bigjreport.com and the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Thank you guys for coming in. We're talking college football. Alex Nunnery is not happy with the loss. He's quite irate, and a lot of Florida Gator fans are. There's no doubt about that. We're talking Florida Gator football. I'm still trying to find this on the live stream. We should be up there somewhere. So Napier's not happy. There's a press conference with Billy Napier that we'll probably have to add to the Facebook group. But Billy Napier's not happy. Gators stunned. I'm looking at all these comments. Instant reaction to the loss. And here we are live. We're on a live stream about 9:30 in the morning, Sunday morning. You're welcome to come in, say hello. And I'm trying to find this because I would love to share the fact that we're on. Let people know. If you see us, let them know we're on with the live stream. And Florida Gators lose 18-16. I'm still trying to find our darn live stream. So bear with me a moment. But we're going to keep talking about it. Jags open the season. I've had these because I'm a Gator fan. I'm a Jaguars fan. When you have one of these losses where Florida loses and then the Jags lose, now the Jags still kicking off at 1:00. We don't know. We really don't know. We really don't know how the Jags will do. This is like a report card opening game season for the Jaguars, right? Opening game season. The coffee is great. Absolutely live streaming. Invite them to come in. The stream is up. Talking Florida Gator football. I saw where, and Oklahoma's a team we never gave any love to. We said, hey, they could be a dark horse, maybe somewhere in the middle of the conference or even lesser or lower than that. And Oklahoma beat Oklahoma absolutely beat Michigan. This is the SEC, and I'll tell my executive producer JC this. He knows a good bit about this as I do. Alex Nunnery is very irate and upset about the Florida loss. They all wanted to fire Napier last year, and then Napier, you know, in the open date, he turned it around with Central Florida, beat Central Florida. Central Florida didn't have the greatest team last year, but Florida played well enough to win in that one. They beat Ole Miss and LSU. It helped that those games, I believe, were at home. Ole Miss was a strong team last year. They may not be as good this year, but don't count Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss out. We're talking SEC football. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars open at home at Everbank Stadium, but about a 60% chance of rain. You may want to take the ponchos or umbrellas. Do they let you take umbrellas in a stadium now? You have to ask them. I don't know all the NFL rules about can you take an umbrella in or just a poncho, have something, over your head. 60% chance of rain. A little bit of the humidity is coming back high today, 90. It'll probably be 90 degrees, by the second quarter, halftime, something like that. It's going to be a hot day, but the rain could cool it off. But the fans really want rain. The Jaguars are a 3.5-point favorite over the Carolina Panthers. I'm looking over my fantasy football teams this morning, and what's really interesting is I had one league where I have Travis Hunter in, and he's projected to get one more point than a guy I had starting. So I put Hunter in. I was hunting him up, like general manager James Gladstone. So it is going to be absolutely interesting. The Florida loss to South Florida is terrible. I don't want to say it's not. It's a non-conference game, but no, it's a terrible loss because with that loss, Florida is not going to be in the poll this week. They're going to be battling back. If they got this is kind of crazy to say, but they got really tough, 4 tough games coming up: LSU, Texas A&M. Trying to think who the other one is, but there's 4 tough SEC conference matches coming up. They got Miami in there too. They got Texas A&M, Miami, and LSU over a period of the next 5 weeks. If they win all those, they're back in the poll. They're probably top 10. The season is just not one game. But every year, even a good team has that game that ends up close, and you better win it. If Florida could have snuck out of that South Florida game with a win, everybody would have been, fairly happy about that, don't you think? So check us out. We're live streaming a little bit this morning, talking about the Jags, the Gators. Peter Frampton will be in St. Augustine on October the 29th. You can check the concerts at bigjreport.com in the Neighbors 2 section. We talk sports, more sports, news, weather. Should be a partly cloudy sky. Should be partly cloudy in Jacksonville, about a 60% chance of rain, thereabouts. And I'm trying to pull our live stream up. We should be up this morning. Normally you can find us on YouTube by typing in bigjreport.com. We don't do a lot of live streams. I think Alex does some, but most of what we've been doing, and we did head this up as Florida Gators. Now we're talking Florida Gator football, and that's on a lot of people's mind on a Sunday after a very disappointing loss to South Florida, 18-16. Really is. Let's see if I can find us on here. We wanted to share that we were on live, so spread the word. If you do see us on, spread the word. As you know, Florida loses. We're doing our live stream. So there it is. I found us now. I absolutely found us now. Well, that's good. Let's see what we look like on you. There we are. We're on YouTube now. I wanted to find us on YouTube because I did want to share that we're on live this morning. Talking obviously talking obviously Florida Gators, talking Jaguars, and please subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot of people that have subscribed. We're over 2,000 subscribers. To our podcast, our Teal Shirt podcast from BigJReport.com. The big Gator fans, man, I've been a Gator fan since the early 1970s. I have. I and My wife is asking me what I'm doing now. Okay, well, let's send her a link. Maybe she'll come on here. She'll know absolutely what I'm doing. We're talking, we're we're talking Florida Gator football. It was a massive, it was a massive loss. Yeah, I'm gonna tell my wife, give us a like. And she doesn't always give us a like. She's tough. She's tough at times. Um, Says Alex said he's done talking about this now, but Billy, you're welcome to come up too from our Facebook group, our Big J Report Facebook chat. Hey man, streaming live. I'm letting them know we are absolutely streaming live this morning. And I know some people are going to be going to church this morning, and I'm a very busy guy. I've got a lot to do, but we thought we would come on and stream live. Jaguars, about a 3.5 point favorite. Um, I did find this tube this morning. Okay. So we'll absolutely talk about it this morning. I've been in conversation with people about the spitting incident, which I didn't see. I kind of turned my head to the side. I listen to the game on the radio sometimes. Sometimes I'll snatch it on YouTube. TV looks like it may be a different obstacle this year because one channel, the ABC channel, I can't get on my set. That's an old term, set, right? So check us out and subscribe to our channel. We do have over 2,000 subscribers, which in itself is kind of interesting. Um, Florida Gators. Florida Gators lose this game. What about Florida State? What about? I mean, what about? What about? Hmm, uh, mm. Man, the coffee is good. The coffee. Yep. Mm. Okay. I took a moment. I really took a moment to reflect on this 18-16 loss to South Florida. Florida Gators, is this season a time bomb? How about a time bomb ticking? A time bomb ticking? That's what I meant. Plus, the Jags open the season. North Florida Entertainment, Peter Frampton, October the 29th in St. Augustine at the amphitheater. Check out Big J Report. Man, you'll be glad you did. We're brought to you by the Teal Shirt Report podcast, brought to you by Social Realty and Capital. My good friend Okay. So I'm going to make my way. I need to take a look at a couple of things over here at World Headquarters, but here we are. We're on live. We're still streaming live. I had to check another area of World Headquarters, but here we are. We are live at the Teal Shirt Report podcast. So why did the Gators lose this game? Why did they lose the game? Well, they let South Florida hang around. South Florida had a 15-9 lead. I'm getting text messages. Boy, Florida doesn't look very good. I'm getting this about the game. Florida scored a touchdown. What was it? Early fourth quarter toward mid fourth quarter. They kicked the extra point. They 16-15 lead. Next thing I know, Florida's got the ball. And then all of a sudden they screw up a play. Was it a punt? I believe it was a punt. I'm watching some of this. And it went for a safety. Fortunately, it did not go for a touchdown. But that's the 2 points. The safety. That was a special teams play. It was a special teams play. I remember watching the punt, and I believe I saw that on the highlight. And that's 2 points it cost you. South Florida 18, Florida Gators 16. The final score. Jaguars will be playing at home today. 3.5 point favorite. I'm going to look outside the door of World Headquarters. It looks to me like partly cloudy, the variable cloudiness. Highs today near 90. There is actually a 60% chance of rain outside World Headquarters at our Cobblestone Studios, as I like to call it. One game does not make a season. One game absolutely does not make a season. I'm on the other side of the studios now, but I'm going to tell you, one game does not make a season. However, that is the type of game that Florida lost, and a lot of things went wrong. Number 90 tried to spit on some people. I've been in the comments on that. He should get a 1 to 3 game suspension. And if it ever happens again, he should be kicked out of college football. Like I told some people in some chats, I said, I don't know his history, his past individually, as a player, a student, a person. I don't know his past behavior, but he showed bad behavior in the South Florida game with the spitting incident. I think what we saw last year was after the Texas A&M loss, that was a wake-up call for Billy Napier and the Gators. They turned it around. They had an open date. Then they played UCF, played better, won the game, and then eventually they beat LSU. They beat Ole Miss. The Texas game was probably the only really bad game going down the stretch, and Florida didn't have their starting quarterback for that game. They played a former Ivy League quarterback in that football game. I had to walk across the other side of the room for a moment. I'm doing multiple things, but you are watching the Teal Shirt Report podcast from BigJReport.com. Florida Gator football. Yeah, I've followed it since the early 1970s. Alex Nunnery, one of our producers, is a huge Florida Gator fan. And in one of our chats, Alex about went crazy. He don't like to see Florida lose. I don't either. But in the grand scheme of things, if Florida wins 9 games this year, with the schedule they're playing, and again, the South Florida loss would be a big blemish on the schedule at the end of the year. Florida has their work cut out for them. If they still win 9 games, they may be in the playoff because you know why? That means they will have beaten some big SEC teams. One of the first things I thought about was all these people, they wanted the SEC to be bigger, more teams, more NIL money. That's what's going on. Texas looks horrible. That was a rotten egg against Ohio State. Arch Manning, and they scored 7 points, but it was 1 game. Bama loses to Florida State. I'm not saying Florida State is the greatest team since sliced bread, but I believe their coach, Mike Norvell, is a good coach. He went 11-1 at Memphis, took them to a Cotton